everybody. Got a few people jumped on. I'm sure some more will come on. Hi, Peter. Hi, Steve and Trent. And Sarah. Hi, everyone. Just waiting for the man himself. Hopefully we can manifest him here tonight. Oh, can't hear you. There we go.
I think you're dreaming.
We just manifested you right
You
here,
did.
right now.
I just literally turned up out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. This is what we do at the Global Wealth Hub. Hi, this is my favorite man in the whole wide world to speak with. We're so blessed tonight again to be able to talk to Warren tonight with all of his craziness. Hey?
Yeah, your twin flame, Jess.
He's my twin flame. We're twin flames. How is everything tonight? You don't want to be our twin flame, don't worry. It comes with many complexities.
Yes.
Oh, lovely. Well, Warren, I'm pretty excited about this topic. I know that it's something that you're extremely passionate about. And I know that it's something that you've also really live and breathe and teach us within the team. So tonight we're talking about manifestation. And I feel that it's a word that many people, know about and some people practice. But I think what we need to do tonight is break through the stigma and all the, sugarcoating and just call it for what it is. So talk to me about manifestation, Warren, and what it means to you and how real it is to you in your life.
Sure. Well, look, what I'm going to do is I'll start with a bit of an intro. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be moving back and forth between talking to you and showing some slides, Jazz. I've only got brief slides of lovely quotes. But look, manifestation is something that's it really is just the process of taking charge of what you're manifesting automatically from your reality. Like everyone in this webinar right now is a manifester. We all are. Some people manifest absolutely atrocious shit in their life. Some people manifest absolutely amazing shit in their life. Some people, it entirely depends on the situation. Like, some people will manifest incredible results in their money, but appalling things in their relationships, or incredibly great relationships, but terrible stuff around their money, or really good on money, on relationships, but terrible on health. And so manifestation really is just the art of taking control of your reality and realizing how everything goes back to your inward world. And so to say that changed my life is an understatement, only because by nature, I have a monkey mind that just doesn't stop. As my psychologist friend says to me, who I see every now and again, our mutual friend, Mr. John Thompson, he said to me, highly intelligent people, he said, tend to spend their whole life creating mental constructs to deal with shit. And so he said, the secret is learning to unravel that and get back to your core essence or core being and learning how to do that. So manifestation is learning to kind of use that for your advantage. Like, rather than constantly focusing so much on what you don't want to happen, which is what most people do without realizing it. Like, I don't want to be locked down with COVID, or I don't want to be forced to wear masks. I don't want this. I don't want the tax office to come after me. I don't want the TGA to get me in trouble. I don't want to get hurt in this next relationship because all my last partners have always been narcissistic and abusive and treated me really badly. And of course, if you're thinking about that long enough, about all your ex-partners and how badly they treated you, and the images get more graphic in your mind and you start to remember the horrible things that they did to you and everything else, it's hardly surprising that you're going, ooh, I don't know if I want a relationship. And then before you know it, your whole vibration is resonating with that. So if you do start dating someone, you'll almost certainly date someone that's exactly like that other partner, because that's what you're thinking about. And it's like the biggest thing, for example, with health. I mean, many people, one of the reasons that doctors have been so unsuccessful as a rule is they focus on curing sickness rather than on wellness, as an example. Rather than on being in good health, they focus on fixing this or stopping this from happening. And there's so many aspects to manifestation. I mean, I could be here for 20 hours, but that's just a bit of a kickstart, basically.
Yeah. No, awesome. Now, with manifestation, typically people think, okay, well, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to start daily affirmations in the morning, in the evening, and, have this little ritual. Is affirmations, are they still a real big part of manifestation, or is this like a completely separate thing? So I do feel that people do get stuck in these kind of, loopholes where they just don't really see results. They don't see a change. And I think what you said, it comes back to, you know, what are you actually manifesting? Where's your vibration at?
It's a really good question. The answer is yes and no. I mean, obviously affirmations can play a valuable part. The danger that you've got to focus on affirmations is indirectly, you can start focusing on what you don't want. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's just say you decide, I want to get really rich or something, or make a lot of money. So you say, I am a rich investor. I am a rich trader. And let's say you don't really believe that. What's actually happening is this mental conflict, and you're seeing the opposite, and it almost moves into this anxiety which drives you, and you actually end up manifesting the reverse. So many people, because ultimately it's your inner fear that actually manifests in the end. And Gerald O'Donnell, who's a great teacher in consciousness and remote viewing, talks about the number of people who do all the best trading affirmations, and then they end up getting their accounts wiped out. And he said, because underlying it, it's the underlying belief system and fears, which is the strongest energy. So if your strongest energy is you're scared out of your wits of losing your money, then you will manifest that. And, you know, many people are scared out of their wits of being locked down, or scared out of their wits of being forced to do this, and scared out of their wits of being caught out by COVID. Not surprisingly, they end up manifesting their worst fears. And so that's why one of the things that when I first started manifesting, I would get the reverse. And I'd be like, you know, like, I am in immaculate health, and I had terrible back problems at the time. The issue that I had was, all I was seeing as I said that was I wasn't really believing it, because I felt so ultimately sick and in pain. So all I was actually seeing was making my condition highlight. So what I actually learned to do as an example was to say, I am in the process of getting back to perfect health. I'm in the process of fixing my back up. I'm finding the right solutions, and they're on the way to me. That I could believe, you know. Now I go, okay, I can believe that. You know? Like, I can believe that now. That's what I started saying to myself. And that started to change the current of the tides towards me. Or, you know, an affirmation like, I am in the process of mastering investing. I'm improving as each month goes by. And you might go, yeah, I can go with that. Like, when I first started dance classes 5 months ago, I forgot all my own manifestation teachings and was freaking out because I've had fears around and kind of self-confidence around my body when it comes to dancing and stuff like that. And it's not, most areas of my life I'm very self-confident, but that one I was having a few hang-ups. So for the first 6 weeks, I kept talking about that. And one day my dance instructor, Douglas, who you know, says to me, dude, you're like a really great inspiration to us group. You've got to start applying with this and start changing what you're saying about your body. Rather than saying, oh, it takes me ages to get these moves, just change your affirmation. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, if I get up and just say, I am a magnificent dancer. But what I started saying was, yeah, I actually can adapt these really quickly. You know, my mind can connect. I have a good mind-body connection. I can get these moves really quickly. I reckon I made more progress in the next 2 weeks than I made in the first 3 months. I just literally accelerated. I then turned up and started my more advanced dance classes. It's like, yeah, I can do this easily. Because by then I projected that, yeah, I can do this easily. I'm in this for the long game. Over the next 2 years, I'll be better than I'll be the best in this group. That I started to believe. Over the next 2 years, that was realistically. You know, one of my things is for some of my more advanced dancing is to get to the point of being able to do splits. Now, that was something that always was a dream, but so I've just done some research and said, yeah, so over the next year or two, I will master the splits and I will do this. I'm seeing insane...
Wait, will you do the splits live on Zoom for us? Because you cannot say, guys, everyone, remember that you were here today and that Warren is going to do
I'll do more than the splits if you want me to, but you maybe don't want me to do more than the splits. But
yeah, that's awesome. So you put a challenge in for yourself about doing a split?
Yes, I'm creating really what I call affirmations that I can work with and believe. And that means I'm seeing results and progress. And even I had a setback last Friday when I had a twinge in my shoulder and neck. And I started to get these negative messages like, oh, what a bugger. And instead I just laughed to go, okay, this is a great opportunity to rest and integrate my changes because I've been going a little bit quickly, which I had been. And let's allow myself to rest and allow my changes. And I turned up to my class yesterday and I'd accelerated from having 5 days off. So it's just using manifestation is learning how the subconscious works and being able to take control of it. And look, one of the things I've had to learn to do is I heard all the manifestation teaching, I heard all of the affirmations and that, generally most people who do it don't do very well with it. That's my observation, and I wasn't. And once I learned my own way of doing it and created my own science and system on finances and health, it's really, really worked, really worked.
I love it. So let's peel this back a little bit, because I think the 2 points that you brought up were so incredibly important. First and foremost, addressing fear. Remember, we spoke about this a lot with the lockdowns. We spoke about this when all the crap that was going on. I think that people actually have to address that fear and that inner voice that's rebuttaling that manifestation or something that they're trying to achieve. And then second point is what you said, is when you're actually manifesting it, if there's a part of you in disbelief, maybe you just need to change what you're saying, like that language, what you said. I think this is so vital, and this is where we can really start to see some results. So Warren, you shared with us how that actually happened. You changed the language, you changed the belief, and then you started to see results. Is there a law behind this? Is there a law behind manifestation where there's an actual sequence of doing things where you're guaranteed for it to work, or is it more individualized?
Good question. I'm going to share some slides for about 5 minutes, maybe not long, then I'll cancel them, just because images always work well. So basically, we're conditioned to be fearful, okay? That's just by nature. Like, you just have to watch the media, you have to hang around with your family. Doctors, for example, I remember going to a brilliant chiropractor 5 years ago, and he's good, but he told me, he goes, you're getting older, joints getting arthritic is normal. And I said, well, it's not normal. That's just your belief system. And since then, I've actually got the best joint movement I've ever had. So, but by nature, we're conditioned to be fearful, and we are vulnerable to what I call mass hypnosis from media, because as soon as your mind goes passive, you take whatever auto suggestions hit you. So if the government hits you with auto suggestions, COVID will kill you, you will get this happen to you, you don't get vaccinated, you're being selfish, you're being mean, you're being horrible. Personally, I believe COVID just highlighted everyone's mass fears from their childhood upbringing, and those who had big guilt complexes about their family were the ones most affected, So that was just one big manifestation exercise the last 2 years. So I always say the first is that you must accept and believe that good things come to you easily. And that kind of is starting to own the fact that can happen. And if you can't get that straight away, you can just say, I'm in the process of knowing that good things come to me, just starting to believe that truth, that there is a pathway to do that. And one of my favorite authors, Neville Goddard, says feeling is a secret. Like, you'll always manifest your true feeling. If you're terrified and full of fear, you will eventually manifest your fear, whether it's in relationships, health, money, losing it in cryptos, whatever else. Most people attach manifestation to an outcome. Like, for example, if I don't make $1 million from crypto, then I haven't manifested, for example. Whereas manifestation is all about finding what you love doing, what you're feeling, and having an overall intention, but letting go of the process to get to the outcome. That's how I put it. And so Jesus put it very well. He said, whatever you ask for in prayer or affirmation, like whatever you affirm, believe you've received it, not that you may one day receive it, because the subconscious doesn't know past or future. It only knows the now. Believe that you've received it and it'll be yours. And whenever you stand praying, forgive, which other words, let go of negative doubts, because that will interfere with your manifestation. So really, Jesus was teaching a profound esoteric truth there, that whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you've received it and you'll basically have it. So, for example, if I believe already that I'm imperfect, that my health is getting perfect, or I believe already that I'm a good dancer, I will start to manifest in accordance with being a good dancer. And that's a really good example. It's just the way that the subconscious mind works. Because your subconscious mind only goes by what you have right now, not what you might have. Takes you very literally. Doesn't know right from wrong, good from bad, positive from negative. So if you say, I'm an idiot, your subconscious goes, okay, you're an idiot, and starts making sure, or I'm always accident prone, I always injure myself, the worst things always seem to happen to me. His subconscious goes, oh, okay, cool. Let's bring some really nasty little shit in your life. No issue. The subconscious is just like an automatic artificial intelligence automated system that's operating within you all the time. So we're always manifesting all of the time, like constantly, 24/7, Your mouth speaks, as Raymond Grace puts it, your body listens and just implements it. Most people speak horrific things over themselves or over their partners or over their kids or over their friends. I mean, people ask me about the secrets of my boys and how they're all successful in business. I'm like, well, one of the simple answers, well, I just always spoke prosperity, success, and that they were going to succeed over them when they were in the womb right through. I didn't basically sit there saying, you know, you've got to go to school and do what your teachers tell you and do this and you must do that and you have to do this and you got to get a good job. I just was like, you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to get a job, great. You know, if you want to do business, but you're always better to do this. And so I taught them that from young. So I spoke that over them. And the particular power of this was, I remember when my oldest son started suffering asthma at age 3. And at night, one night as he's going to sleep, because I knew that was when he's in his deepest brain state, his mother and myself sat down with him and started speaking over him healing. She apologizing for any smothering of him, because we knew asthma was very much related to smothering emotions, and releasing him into perfect health. The next day he woke up and his asthma was gone and never came back. So all by just speaking that over him. So you're the product of your last 1,000 thoughts. Your children take on, up to age 12, anything that you are pretty much speaking or projecting over them, they will take on board. Yeah, so basically manifestation is a very, very, very scientific process. So yeah, in the final quick, so Raymond Grace puts it very simply. He says, like, every single thing is energy, and that energy can be transformed, you know, like everything is energy. One of my favorite mentors who changed my life. So he, one of the things I did is that I learned is that the law of attraction is basically, and frequency are like gravity, you know, it's a law. It doesn't go by good or bad. If that's why the elite can do awful things, you know, they can experiment on people with vaccines and do all kinds of shit. And the subconscious doesn't know anything other than what you're creating and what you believe. So it doesn't matter whether you're a good man or good woman or bad woman or good woman. I meet some appalling people who are very healthy and very prosperous. I meet some very kind people who are sick and very, very broke. And it's because the appalling people often don't give a shit about anyone else. So they just speak really good stuff over themselves and over their finances and expect to be good. Whereas very kind people end up speaking stuff more around other people rather than themselves. So it's just realizing your beliefs decide your reality. And I mean, I personally have developed a 7-step protocol, which I use, which I won't go into so much today because it's a fairly long teaching in itself in my programs I do. But like, you create your intention, you move into a sufficient brain state that allows you to program yourself, because you can't program your subconscious in a monkey mind state. You command it, in other words, you make a clear, definitive command that that's what you're looking for. If any blockages come up, you clear it, whether by releasing it internally or by using a picture code or whatever else. Take some kind of action to prove you believe what you've just done. Like a simple example is if your manifestation is around health, you might go and see a specialist or to get your first idea, or if it's around trading, you might go and do a course or go see a mentor. I mean, once you've done all that, the biggest mistake people forget to do is let go completely, detach from the outcome and the manifestation, get on with life and watch for the clues telling them that it's going to happen. So that's by and large that's a simple summary.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Why the letting go part? That part really is interesting to me. And I think a lot of people go, oh, why I just did all this work and why do I have to let it go? Are you letting go of the outcome so you can let the higher source, God, take care of the rest because you've done what you can?
Pretty much. You just have to do what you can and then let God do the rest. That's how I describe it. God, higher intelligence, or whatever. And the best metaphor I can give is, let's just say I create a manifestation that a particular girl, that I'm going to have a soulmate partner. I mean, all I'm doing is anxiously walking around, jumping on every dating site, going up to every woman I meet and kind of chatting them up. I mean, they will feel my desperation, and I'll either push everyone away, or if I do manifest someone, it'll probably be a complete psychopath who just basically is just as bad as me. So so basically you let go as well, because you have to allow things to integrate and process in the same way that if you go and start personal training, let's say that you go and do weights and then you just keep doing weights nonstop 24/7, you're going to end up breaking your arm or something. So you do your exercise, you let go. It doesn't mean you don't think about it again and you don't lose your desire for it. You just basically go, okay, let's say your manifestations around trading, you do what you can. and then you just go and get on with life and kind of forget about it. And then basically you might come back to your mind. If it does, you give thanks for it in your heart, like, yep, it's coming in the right time. And then you might just get a sudden sense of something to do. And you know what I mean, Jasmine, you let go of something and then things just sort of start coming to you to bring it back. But the letting go is really important to allow your higher self and your subconscious to assimilate and start to move the energy and make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Who here finds it hard to let go? Because I think in this world where we see so much out of our control, sometimes where we can have control, we tend to want to grasp a hold of it and not let go. So if that's you tonight, put a Y in the chat, and that's okay because we've all been there. But I think this is a part of what we want to teach at the Global Wealth Club, that we can all start to make these changes in our life. If we don't do it, someone else will do it for us, and they can manifest something a whole lot worse. Now, Warren, let's get back to that part where we spoke at the beginning around fear. I do feel that a lot of people could even fear being wealthy because they don't know what to do with money if they are trying to manifest it. They could fear the thought of them being in really good health because then maybe that health or that bad problem gives them certainty of having a problem. So therefore they always feel they have a purpose. Can we just like unravel this? Because I know with all your years of experience with health issues, with preventative health, in the spiritual world, manifestation, where are you at with that to be able to really give people some tools to understand, you know, how they can address fear?
Yeah, look, it's understanding how real the fear is. I studied a lot of psychology, so I've studied manifestation from every sense. I first studied it from a spiritual religious perspective because I was in a very excellent Pentecostal, you know, awakened kind of a church, and I had some fantastic experiences and had some marvelous teachers, you know, who taught me this stuff. And that was then followed by me going and exploring the psychology and the psychotherapy side of the whole thing and how the unconscious worked, because eventually my spiritual religious stuff got me only so far, and then I hit some health issues, which just didn't seem to be going away. So then I started to study the science of the mind-body connection, the psychotherapy, and then eventually I started studying the science of and consciousness and, you know, quantum physics and all that. And what I concluded from all of that was, yeah, look, fear basically, if you've got a fear of a health issue, for example, or whatever's going on, it's it definitely does. And it's just like one of the things when I had very bad arthritic symptoms hit me 6 years ago, which just wouldn't go away, and I was getting really scared because nothing I was doing seemed to work. I can remember having two things. There was a particular mentor who was teaching me that stuff, and I mentioned to him, you know, I want some guidance what to do about my arthritis issue. And he pissed himself laughing and he goes, well, there's your problem. And that was all he said to me. And I thought about it. And I'm in a group with 12 other people, and I was like, oh, he said, yeah. I said, yeah, you just labeled it. You just created it. So, yeah, I'm not surprised you got that when you're saying that. And I'm like, okay. Because he's a very, very blunt guy. And I laughed because I'm pretty blunt too. So I said, okay. So I said, okay. So I'm in the so I just said, so it looks like it's time to collapse my illusion of what's going on in my body and remove the label. He goes, well, that would be a very good start, wouldn't it? So, and then I heard Raymond Grace teach about one little tip he would do, and I followed it, which was, because what I would notice was every time in the morning I was waking up at 3 a.m. and the pain would be particularly sore. So the first thought that would come in was, oh no, you know, my whatever's getting worse. And so what I did, as soon as I'd wake up and see again those words come in, I imagined a red paintbrush go flick, the paint hit it, a big cross come on it, smash, and shatter that. And that's what I started doing every day. And after about a week, I just noticed when I was waking up at 3, although I still saw, the fear kind of started to dissipate a lot now. I was just going, okay, I'm on the way to fixing this. Because I changed the label. And rather than saying that, I started saying, you know, these illusions of arthritic symptoms are in the process of dissolving. That's what I started saying to myself. So they're in the process of dissolving, and I'm being led to the solution that works best for me. And then about a week later, I'm sitting with our mutual friend Sahaja, and my sense was, I said to her, as we were talking about it, she looked at me and she goes, what's your sense? I said, I sense I've got to do some kind of cleanse. And she said, I'm getting the same thing. So we tuned in together and we decided to go on a juice fast, on a cleanse. And that was and that felt right to me. And then when we tuned in, I got the word 18 days. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Just juice for 18 days. I'm like, that's diabolical. And she said, well, that's what I'm getting. I said, well, I'm getting the same thing, but I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. So I went on an 18-day juice fast. And it was just diabolical. Like I literally, every emotion was coming up. Toxins are pouring out of my body because now I'm not eating, having all cleansing juice. It's alkalizing my body. My toxic kind of belief systems and negative energies are leaving my body. 18 appalling days or whatever else. I lost about 9 kilos, which, by the way, by the time it happened, I also got very bloated in my stomach from inflammation and got a bit fattish. And I went right back to being slim, and if anything, too slim. And then I went and started doing yoga and some light gym again. Within 3 months, no pain. I was as right as rain, absolutely healed. So that was a good example of where it didn't start happening till I changed my thinking, you know. So when I actually changed my thinking and got pulled into line about the labels, and I mean, I see this all the time, like I have ADHD or my child has this. I'm like, well, if you didn't have it before, they've certainly got it now, you know, or my child is autistic. Well, if they weren't before, they certainly are now. You've made sure of it, you know. And so it's just, that's not to dismiss, you know, realities and things you got to deal with. But like, you know, if I'd gone along with that shit, my oldest son, William, who many of you know, would most certainly, I mean, they tried to diagnose him as just about anything because he was so out there and so they tried ADHD to Asperger's. I just said, don't put that shit on him. You know, go take your diagnosis and shove him up your ass, you know. And I just said to William, ignore that shit. I said, none of that's true. I said, you're just a very intelligent boy, very creative, and no big issue. And now, of course, many of you know him as a great healer. He does great work with people. He's a very focused, very mature young man. He's a leader to his friends. But seriously, it could have gone either way. If I listened to the experts, he would have been labeled as some kind of silly little label and he would have been behaving like that. So, you know, it's manifestation. A lot of it is your labels. Like, you know, if you talk about yourself as, you know, oh, you know, it's always a struggle to make money. Well, yeah, you just made sure of it. Or in my case, I used to always say things like, I'm so busy, I never have time to get much done. So not surprisingly, I'd always manifest stuff and I wouldn't have much time to get it done. Or my favorite little effort of myself of being an absolute dumb nut was saying, I used to say things like, you know, you just can't trust women in a relationship. You'll always get burnt. So what do you think I attracted? I attracted women who kept burning me. And I'm like, I remember Sahaji goes to me like, yeah, well, I'm not surprised with that kind of ridiculous manifestation. So I was like, oh, I said, but I can't really say yet I fully trust women because I don't. She said, well, why don't you say I trust myself with women? I said, oh, shit, I like that. So I just started saying, I trust myself with women, but I could have a really great relationship. And not surprisingly, I started getting better relationships. So.
How beautiful is that? And how helpful is this? Is everyone enjoying this tonight? Because I know this is truly, you know, Warren lives and breathes this and we're all learning this all the time. And imagine if every parent who had a child who was labeled something would deny that label and do exactly what you did. Imagine the world that we'd be living in and the difference that would make. It makes me emotional.
Oh, that's one of my passions. I really have said to Grace, I want to do a conscious parenting kind of teaching and start a process on that because I'm passionate about it. And I mean, I love my grandma to this day. You know, my grandma, when I was 5, the kindergarten called my mum in and said to her, we think Warren's basically got problems. You know, I mean, you know I've got problems, but they were talking about...
I say it all the time, but problems we love, it's okay.
We think Warren's a bit of a slow learner and, you know, he's probably like a, you know, Asperger's or whatever else. My mum was devastated and she goes home and says it to my grandma. My grandma goes, absolute fiddlestick. She goes, what a load of absolute tripe. She goes, that boy is as bright as they come and I just don't understand you. Go and tell those idiots to go and do some proper testing. And my grandma was very blunt. My mum was starting to say, well, you know, she goes, no, you don't listen to idiots. She said, that's the stupidest thing I've heard in many a long day. She goes, you go tell those idiots to instantly go, yeah, fiddlesticks, man, yeah. Leanne. Then we make that decision. So mum went to them and they said, oh, well, okay, we'll do it, but we know we're right. Then about a week later, they came back and go, oh, we always knew that Warren did have an intelligence that was hidden in there. And I was off the charts, had some insanely high IQ. And of course, that, you know, if it hadn't been for my grandma, I would have been put in some slow learners thing and, goodness knows what else. And that definitely, they've actually proven in studies that kids who are smart and go with slow learners dumb down, and kids that are dumb but go with smart people speed up. So
Wow.
yeah, I love my grandma to this day, because my grandma would always say that to me, you can do whatever you want, you know?
Wow, I love that. You know, that's just so beautiful. I definitely can see you've got a bit of your grandma in you.
Oh, my
You
grandma's a
definitely-
legend. Yeah, one of the
What's
greatest
her
people.
name?
Bessie, I fucking love her. Like,
Oh,
she,
Betsy and the Fiddlesticks, guys. It makes a lot of sense.
my grandma, she was a classic. Like, when I was like 13, my dad told me one time, by taking her out, you got this old lady walking with my dad, and my grandma was very blunt and very dry humor. She sees an older guy walking with a young girl, and she goes, goodness me, she'd have to lift him on and off.
That is hilarious.
It's really loud so everyone could hear, including the couple. And my dad is just going, Bessie, be quiet.
Betsy. I wish we had some more Betsies in this world. Anyway, I just want to let everyone know, if you do have a few questions, we're going to wrap up tonight in the next 15 minutes. We've got a few more things to talk about here, but let's get back, Warren, to, all right, everyone here has said that they've got something in their life they want to manifest. Is that right? So let's say they have that thought, okay, I want to manifest, you know, to be the next crypto master or whatever it is. Now, when that person is manifest, or they're trying to put out the right words, and then all of a sudden they don't believe it, okay, there's that disconnect. How do they then address it there and then? Do they write it down on paper until they believe it? Like, talk us through this.
Yeah. You've got to get the wording to something you can actually believe. You know, this is something that I've hardly heard anyone teach this before. This is something I worked out. And best thing I ever did, and I've helped many people with that one. You've got to, the reality is you can't force your subconscious into submission very easily. You've got to have incredible mental strength, and even then. So you're better off to find something that you can work with. Like in my case, when I first started doing manifestations around health, when I was in a chronically bad position, I had to be as simple as, I know that I can get better, and I am in the beginning of my journey to recover my health. That was, I could believe that, but I am in the beginning of my journey to recover my health. And not surprisingly, I started manifesting people who could help me. I met this girl who I bumped into who told me about someone else, and then next minute I'm with a really good naturopath, and then I'm with this really good doctor, and then I'm with someone else, and it all went in processes. And then also you start to often get corrected in your manifestation. Like, you know, all my manifestation was around having my back in excellent health, and I got it there, but every now and again it would start to come back, and I realized it was because I had to expand my goal. So now, as you know, I'm doing dancing. I'm even doing pole dancing, which is my new hobby, which is absolutely fun. And I'm noticing getting very, very strong from doing it, you know. And so my next manifestation was, I have a very strong back, and I'm a very physically strong man. Now, I'd always had issues believing I was strong, because I'd grown up with kids in school picking on me and calling me, you know, weak and skinny boy and all that kind of stuff. So I just start by saying, I'm gradually getting my strength up. And the manifestation I can believe around my body is that I'm not the hare, I'm the tortoise, which means I eventually win. So that works for me. That takes the pressure off me to make it happen fast. So that's my manifestation. I tell everyone, like I've told you, I'm the tortoise, which means I eventually win the race. So in Pilates, I was the worst in the class when I started. It took me the longest. Now I'm the strongest out of all of my teachers' clients, including elite Dockers and Commonwealth Games athletes which he trains. I'm stronger than all of them. And I said this with pole dancing to my teacher. I said to her, you know, right now I'm still new to this, but in 2 years' time, I'll be better than anyone. She said, I don't have any doubt about that. She said, seriously, you progress really fast. So now I'm starting to manifest stuff I believe in. So you just have to create manifestations about yourself that you can work with. So don't create some stupid manifestation that I'm a billionaire next month, you know? Yeah, I mean, if you really can believe that, then that's amazing. I mean, I have heard of people manifesting a lot to win and doing it, but you've got to really believe it. You're better off to start in small steps and get some confidence by getting results. And as you get confidence, you can expand your goals. Like now I'm expanding my manifestation dreams bigger and bigger, but I started small and you build on it. So don't create silly manifestations, create stuff you can work with and really believe.
Yeah, and they always say success builds success, right? So for every success you have, then you're ready and you're ready to expand for more. What about the world, like the big picture? We're all manifesting all the time. And if you want a personal manifestation, and everything is energy, like Raymond Gray said, and energy can be transformed. Can you change something so big like a whole country or a whole direction of political, aspect? Or, I mean, can it be as big as something beyond yourself and your world? Or
I've heard some of the greatest changes in history have occurred because of amazing men and women who prayed. And prayer is just another name for manifestation,
Yeah.
Men and women who did manifestation, or they had such strong faith and belief systems, they could believe a change for their whole region. I mean, what David Yonggi Cho has done for South Korea, 3 hours a day, he does manifestation and prayer rituals, and they literally saw major changes from what they've done over there. So the only thing that limits you is what you believe. And I love what Raymond Gray says, if you think you can do it, it can be done. And like our project we were trying last year with West Australia, where we were actually doing manifestations around, WA, but COVID basically does not come into our state, but our state is COVID free. And it stayed like that, literally for a long, 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 long time. And I remember the day came when I felt to stop doing that, because I thought we need to kind of let this happen, because right now people are being overprotected. And when we stopped doing it, within a month it came in, Now, you can't prove this was the case, but people with it know and saw their own eyes a number of times, but they're now still going to do a lockdown. We did manifestations, and then they got up and changed their mind and apologized. We saw that kind of stuff happening. I have no doubt we can change the world. I mean, I'm doing a new manifestation project myself with my state, That's what my biggest frustration, and some of you know how much I'd scream with frustration when I was just hearing what people were speaking about, like the army will come in and do this. I'm like, well, if you keep going like that, it probably will happen, even if it wasn't going to happen. So I was constantly countering those manifestations with my own work, and, it never happened because I was determined over there. And of course, that a lot of people don't understand me, but I don't speak badly about Mark McGowan, our state leader, because as I said, he's our premier. And it's very important I speak well of him as much as I can, and speak good things out of our state and work on the manifestations. And it doesn't mean I can't lose my shit every now and again about it, but I've done. But overall, I'm more interested in changing our state and seeing a big picture. And I remember saying, and one of my favorite manifestations that brought me great joy was some months ago, there were articles everywhere about energy shortages and food shortages and crisis. You remember you and I talked about it, and I said, well, not where I'm living. I said to you, I see abundance of energy and abundance of food in West Australia. I don't have any issue with it whatsoever. I don't care what the rest of the world want to manifest for themselves, but this is what I'm manifesting for where I live. And while I'm here, it will stay that way. And if it does change, I'll be led away from this place somewhere else. So I said, I'm not worried about it. About 3 weeks after I did that manifestation, Mark McGowan announced, and there's a big article about it, that we were the only place in Australia that had abundance of energy. We had no shortages. If anything, we got excess. So we're talking about cutting down coal plants because of our abundant energy. And the food over here has been overall abundant. Now, I have no doubt, but I've had some part to play in it. I can't prove it. I don't care who or who doesn't believe. It doesn't even matter. I mean, maybe it's the biggest coincidence on planet Earth, but I've learned that you can change your world. You can change the world that you live in. I love what Raymond Gray says about doing a random act of kindness every day. I love doing that, like something to help someone to encourage. I had a friend today who has one of his new girlfriends very sick, with a disease. And I said to him, well, get on the phone, let's talk. And I was helping him. And it felt really good just to go through and help him. So random acts of kindness and doing things to help other people. And as I said to someone, if we could just start doing that and start accepting different people's viewpoints, we've got some chance of sorting this shit out and actually building a really good, healthy country. And I said, I still believe that for Australia. As I get frustrated at times, I get down, but I do believe that through our manifestations, and if we get enough people starting to change and learn this kind of science and this program, we can do something about this state. And I don't care what the rest of the world wants to do, their bloody new world order shit, whether they want to go microchip themselves or get anal swabbed or whatever, but that's not the reality that I'm looking to create here.
No, me neither. Absolutely not. I love that. Warren, it just came to my mind, and I'm sure other people hopefully appreciate me asking these questions. What about perception? So if someone's got a poor perception, or they perceive things to lack, or they're perceiving something to be bad, is manifestation the key to change that perception? Or what can you do then do you know what I'm trying to ask? So the perception versus manifestation. Because sometimes, as you said, like you hang out with a lot of people and all they see is bad. They're like, I just see the New World Order. I just see the WEF. I just see Schwab and the anal swabs. And that's all they're seeing. And it's tiring. Like it's exhausting.
Yeah. The top 5 people you hang out with, you'll become like. That's just universal law. So if you're hanging out with people like that, then you're going to have a pretty difficult existence manifesting anything good. So you're better off to kind of move on to different people and find people around you who like that. And those kind of people just need to be loved and helped as a kind of humanitarian project. You know, that's pretty much that. But they're not the people you should be hanging out with at all, you know. So and if you are going to have a difficult life.
Yeah, and that's right. And I bet you anyone, and there's some people here that person could be someone in your family or close to you, and it's hard. But at the end of the day, we've got to create, you know, and we've got to make the world that we want to live in. And unfortunately, it is hard. But we have to do hard things.
You all know my partner Sammy, the one who died last year. I love Sammy to bits, but I remember about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, she went for a short period. She became an absolute ninja. Like she was negative about everything and negative about this. And after about a week of it, I said to her one day, honestly, I said, I love you, but you're doing my head in. I said, I don't want to be manifesting this stuff and picking this up. So I said, if you want to do that shit, I really want to see less of you. I want to spend less time with you and go and find other people to start your whinging shit because I'm just not interested. I said, I want to manifest good things for our household and for our life. You're being a nuisance right now. I love you to bits, but I'm saying, you know, you've got to stop doing that. But I said, if you want to keep whinging, I'm not taking away your free choice, but you're not allowed to do it around me anymore. So don't hang around me at all while you're whinging. Stay away from me. And she goes, oh. She goes, yeah, look, you're right. No, okay, done. I'm stopping now. And she did. So she stopped and yeah.
Sometimes that's all we need, you know, we just need to remind people around us, like stop with the whinging and let's start to manifest some good things. Now, Warren, the good thing is you've got a lot happening in this space. I know you're extremely focused on bringing this power to people and empowering others to learn how to manifest. Can you let us know what's coming up in this space with the Awakening Within and what we have to offer? Because I would love for people to know the opportunity moving forward so you can become the best manifester in the universe.
Well, look, we're going to be doing more and more teachings and free gifts on this sort of stuff over the next little while to stay tuned about in both Global Wealth Club and Awakening Within, because I've got a passion to help people learn about manifestation to help your community. So my rule is that anything that's done to teach on manifesting for your country, your city, your community, that's always going to be free and by donation, you know. I'm also going to be running a course for people who want to learn manifestation for their personal, financial and health benefits, which is coming up. So if people are more interested in learning how to master it personally and get 3 months of really intensive training and mentoring in a program where we've got exceptional results for clients, learning all this stuff and then being coached into applying it and mastering it over 3 months, then, you know, just kind of put your name in here and your details, and then Jasmine, you know, you can have a chat with them about it. So
if you just...
I emphasize that's going to be for personal benefit. So if you want stuff to help you grow your finances, like let's say you want to double your income, you want to increase your wealth, you want to get healthier, you want to attract a really good relationship, that we're going to be running a paid course on that where you will have to invest some money in it. But yeah, look, is there anyone interested in that? Because if you are, just put your details there and, you know, someone can have a chat with you, like Jasmine, give you a call. If you're not interested and you more just want to learn it for general stuff, then by all means, just come along to our free stuff because we will continue to give really good stuff to help the community.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's easier for you as well, you can just email Jasmine at globalwealthclub.com and then we can send you some information, give you a call. At the end of the day, we do work with a lot of clients one-on-one. You know, if you've got something specific and you really, really want to focus on yourself for now, but keep you know, in tune with us because we've got lots coming in this space. And tonight was so much fun to get back on with Warren. I've missed it. He's my twin flame forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Has everyone enjoyed this tonight? Just let us know your thoughts. If there's anything particular you really want Warren to be sharing on or that you feel that you really want to learn, you know, just keep interacting with us. We've got heaps happening on YouTube. Does everyone follow us here on YouTube? Because we're really, really expanding our knowledge there, and we've got our amazing marketing team really putting in a lot of work to get all of this out to the world. Okay, so please follow YouTube, share with everyone. And Warren, do you have any final words tonight before we wrap it up?
No, look, just get out there and just keep an eye out for our, you know, for our free stuff that we're going to be doing and come along, because the more we can awaken people's consciousness. We can start to shift things where we're at. Get out and just start being aware of what you're thinking. And yeah, if you want to learn or find out more as to how to apply it to yourself, just email, just like I said, email Jasmine, and we would, love to basically, help you assist. So yeah, Mon says about can't afford, but yeah, no, Bob Proctor once said that if you keep saying you can't afford, you'll always keep manifesting brokenness. You're always better off to ask, how can I afford this? And I did that. I mean, most of the programs I got to change my life, I couldn't afford. So I would just do what Bob Proctor said. How can I afford to do this program? So if it resonates with you and you want to do it, then by all means, just that's what you say to yourself, If it doesn't resonate for you for now, then don't do it. Just come along to our free ones and keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly. All right. Well, Warren, thank you once again. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. Can't wait to see you all again. Follow our YouTube. We'll be in touch. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you.
Bye, everyone.